Welcome to Figure Eight, where we feature inspiring stories of women entrepreneurs who have grown their businesses to 7 and 8 figures revenue. If you're in the mix of growing a bigger business, these stories are for you. Join us as we explore where the tough spots are, how to overcome them, and how to prepare yourself for the next portion of the climb. I'm your host, Julie Ellis. I'm an author, entrepreneur, and a growth and leadership coach who co founded, grew, and exited an 8-figure business. This led me to exploring why some women achieve great things. And that led to my book, Big Gorgeous Goals. Let's explore the systems, processes, and people that help us grow our businesses to new heights. If you're interested in growing your business, this podcast will help. Now, let's get going. Hello, and welcome to this episode of Figure Eight. Today, my guest is Fabienne Fredrickson, and she is a powerful catalyst for solo business owners who want to make a powerful impact with their work. She is an expert in teaching you how to leverage all different parts of your business so that you free yourself to live the life that you want and deserve. And when I met her, I immediately saw how this fits with Big Gorgeous Goals, and I couldn't wait to talk. So thank you for joining me today, Fabienne.
It's such a pleasure. Thanks for having me.
It's so good. And I'm so interested in, the system that you have and how you came to, want to take your life back from, the rat race. And I think in North America, we're all used to, you start your job and you get 2 weeks vacation and you work really hard. And that doesn't always lead us to the life that we want to live.
I think that's a really masculine perspective of provide at all cost, but the feminine likes beauty and downtime and joy and pleasure. And I really like having both. I believe you can have impact and abundance, and you can have joy, downtime, and pleasure at the same time.
Yeah. And I think it's we get caught up in that impact and abundance chase, and we forget to or don't think we can balance the two.
Well, I have lots of thoughts on that. I could just dive right in, but I don't know if you're ready. I'll just say this. The society that we women are raised, reared, and bred is a society where we value money before people. It's a little controversial what I'm saying. We put hard work above resting, and all the values that are typically masculine. And I just want to say for the record, I love the masculine, but we are in a masculine business world. If you look at it 100 years ago, women didn't have in normal situations, women didn't have 7-figure businesses, certainly not with 14 weeks of vacation a year. So everything that is masculine is rewarded in our society, and we're just trying to clobber our way through it and figure out how we can have both.
Yeah. And I think that that's a really important distinction for women entrepreneurs, women who are starting businesses, because we wear a lot of hats in our lives. We're mothers, we're daughters, we're CEOs, we're like all the different caregiving, we're, captain of our household. We do a lot of different things and we keep a lot of balls up in the air. And so figuring out how to do that with more ease.
Yeah, even if we have a housekeeper, a nanny, we are still doing laundry. We're still going to do the groceries, planning the meals, the cleaning, shuttling the kids to this, that, and the other. We have about 4 full-time jobs that don't include running a 7-figure or 8-figure business.
Yeah. And now you talked about already the 14 weeks of vacation and the time. And I mean, you live in Paris, which sounds fabulous and wonderful, one of
Mhm.
my favorite cities.
Mm,
But that is a different life view, I think,
yeah,
living in a country like France, in a city there like
yeah.
Paris. So one more vacation is expected to be taken and expected to be granted. But even 14 weeks, I think, would be generous by those standards.
Yeah, and I'll say this, while vacation time here in France is normal to have 7 weeks as a employee, what is not normal is a woman making 7 figures. I don't know, other than the friends I've made who joined my program, I don't know any 7-figure women because women here are still taught that money is not something that you generate. You let your husband generate it. Again, I'm being controversial, but I've been I was raised in France and I've been back for this is my ninth year. And I was told in no uncertain ways that we don't talk about money here. And if you as a woman have your own business and you make a lot of money, shh,
Right. Don't
don't
tell
say
anyone.
anything. Don't say anything.
Interesting. Interesting. So, yeah, those societal norms that still keep us down.
I really believe in having it all, whatever all means to you. And I don't mean this having it all meaning like 4 Italian sports cars in your garage and, all of that. I mean, like, what does having it all as a woman in business with a family and, like, what does that mean to you? And when we start to break down what that means, I'll say this, I've worked with tens of thousands of women. It's never about the Italian sports car. It's about taking Fridays off. It's about travel. It's about time with your spouse and the kids and doing really lovely things more than, I love Chanel, but more than all the bling, 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 real women like us, well, I'm throwing myself into that. I just want a lot of time off to luxuriate.
Yeah. And I think, you talk about this in your book. It's really important for women to have their own financial independence.
Mm. So I tell everybody who will listen, and I've got one daughter and two boys, and I tell them to make their own money and lots of it. But especially for women, that is when you have a voice and a choice in your life. And if you think about friends or women in tough places, they are beholden to somebody else, whether it's a toxic job or living with a parent or I have chills just saying this, in an abusive situation or a relationship that she wouldn't be in if she made her own money, lots of it, and felt financial safety and security. And I'll say one more thing, if allowed, to bring this up. In any situation, in any power situation, the one with the most money has the final say. And typically, that is not a woman. So, a woman in history usually doesn't have the final say unless she makes her own money and lots of it. We started very philosophically in this podcast episode, but I'm happy to get more tactical if you want.
Well, and that's exactly where I'd love to go because the one thing that struck me, so I read your book, here we
Yeah,
are,
thank you.
and it really struck me. I felt very kindred spirit with you around you think big, lofty things, you have big, gorgeous goals, and then you bring it down to a very practical framework, path, and way for women and other solo entrepreneurs to set up businesses to give them the leverage that they want.
Yeah. I've been in business for 25 years. I've worked with a lot of mentors. I've gone to my fair share of masterminds and 3-day events and blah, 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 and read all the books. And the one thing that we women don't have enough of is time. So if I'm going to invest in anything, I want you to give it all to me. Like, give me the strategy, give me the exactly how to, lay out the plan for me. Otherwise, it's not going to be a good use of my time. And that may sound arrogant, but I'm just being discerning in that I will put my time and my money where somebody is going to tell me how to do something with clarity that makes sense for me and that is actionable. So this is how I've been showing up for 25 years, and I
Yeah.
continue. I
Well,
continue.
and you talk in the book about you want time for vacations and from a work perspective to spend it in your zone of genius.
Yes, yes.
And how important that is because I think we all start businesses with a hustle mentality of you're doing all the things.
Hmm.
And somehow then you tie yourself to, well, I have to do that.
Yes. And remember, I don't have to really spend too much time talking about this, that all women are socialized to overgive, that their value is in what they give and what they do that goes above and beyond. So we're valuable when we put the needs of others before our own. We're valuable when we show up and all of that. What I've learned is that when you mm, embolden yourself, my company is called Bold Heart, right? So when you embolden yourself to set boundaries and elegantly, and to take back your time elegantly from those you have allowed to hijack it, and you become very discerning about how you use your time. Not only, and I'm happy to describe exactly, I'm not sure I put it in the book, the 80-20 rule, but I'm happy to describe it here because it is a key foundational way that women get to 7 and 8 figures with their time back. But when you are using your time in a way that is very strategic, only doing the things that come to you naturally, that are within your innate abilities, that are aligned with your passion and your values, that's where you make your most money. So I use a unique brilliance 4 quadrant worksheet with my clients. And I'll explain it now if it's of any use to someone. There's the unique brilliance quadrant. I didn't make it up. It's something that I've converted from what I've read in books. There's your unique brilliance quadrant, your excellence, your competence, and your incompetence. And I'll share this, Julie, is most of us spend time in the bottom 2 quadrants with a special focus on the things we're competent at. Um, about 80% of our time is on the bottom 2 quadrants of competence and incompetence, but where we really make our own money is in the unique brilliance quadrant. The things we are passionate about, the things that come to us naturally, that feed us, that we would do for free all day long. And asked if we were to do it again for free tomorrow, we'd probably say, sure, I'd love to, because we get fed. And that is where we want to spend our time. And it requires being bold enough to be discerning and to set boundaries.
Yeah, and I think it's sometimes is the place where you feel like nothing on your to-do list gets done because of those, but you're strategizing or you're imagining the next things, and it can be hard to then let go of and letting other people do those things,
Mhm.
right? Like you talk in the book about, hiring the person you really need versus sort of plugging a hole with somebody where it's like, oh well, maybe I could do with one day a week.
Yeah. We've not, as women, been taught to receive. We've been taught to give, but there is a martyr, I'm just going to say it, a martyr mentality that we are often shaped just globally. Maybe not you, maybe not me, but there is residue of martyr where we are celebrated for how much we give to others, like I mentioned a moment ago, but conversely, we don't know how to receive. And to ask too much makes us a B word or greedy or not nice. And so we don't choose to. But when we allow ourselves to think bigger and to demand more of ourselves and therefore say no more often, hire the person that will take us where we want to go, not for where we are now, to spend more if need be. Although I've realized a world class team costs the exact same thing as a mediocre team. It's just we're not taught how to hire world class people who are affordable. And I've cracked it for myself using assessments, using different processes, where once you realize the kind of person you need on your team, I talk about it in the book, um, and you hold boundaries with yourself around hiring that type of person, you feel safe to trust. And when you feel safe to trust, you delegate more. And when you delegate more, you gain back your time and you multiply your productivity and your results.
Yeah. And that all is really about building that culture of accountability where, people show up very invested in delivering,
Mm-hmm.
including you.
Including you. I believe and I talk about this in the second chapter, becoming the leader of a process-driven company. And having raising your standards around what you will allow and not allow. And when you hire the right people who are wired for the job, who are um, people who buy into your vision and feel like they belong to something bigger than themselves when they work with you towards your life purpose and the legacy of your business, you delegate more. And the more you delegate, the more you can focus on what I call EGAs, exponential growth activities. And instead of working 8 hours a day on stuff that doesn't move the needle forward, you delegate a lot, and you end up really just using that time or even a fraction of that time to work on things that will exponentially grow your business. And it's amazing what happens when you do.
Well, and you have some examples about how when you began implementing these things, what kind of growth you saw in your own business.
Yeah. I was named 3 years in a row one of America's fastest growing private companies by Inc. magazine by implementing exactly what you described in chapter 1 and chapter 2 of the book, because I experienced a 538% increase in my business in three years,
Which is amazing.
which is a lot.
And yes. And so that's where, so you talk about having process,
Yeah.
and that's where once you have it and you've documented it, the evolution of it becomes more process, really. It becomes ingrained in you to be looking at those things, because one of the things I see is, we put processes into place and we think, oh, whew, thank God, let's work, and so then you go back to work, but you don't really notice that the business is outgrowing the processes that you have.
Yes. What you typically happens is that if somebody does document processes and procedures, it's like set it and forget it. But one of the tricks, I don't want to call it a trick and minimize it, but one of the best practices is to have somebody on your team that is a process manager. We have project managers, but projects are standalone things.
Yes, and they
When
have a start and an end,
Yes,
right?
yes. And a process manager, you don't necessarily hire somebody with that title, but an operations person that you put in charge of the processes. Part of their day-to-day job is to make sure that everything gets updated. So one of the things I'm known for on my team, which is a delicious team, I'll always say, like, make sure you put that in the operations manual. Is that in the ops manual? I know we just changed something. Let's put it in the ops manual. And then it's a living, breathing document that literally changes every day. But you do not, you are not the one to update it.
Yes.
You're not
Very important,
responsible for
right?
that.
It is those separating of you can still be thinking about it, and in fact, you encourage everyone to think about it when you're leading in that way,
Yes.
but you're not in the doing.
Right, which is why I this is not a Fabienne Fredrickson company. This is a process-driven company. And so it all goes, if there's a leak, it's that there's either no process for this or the process is broken. Three things: no process, the process is broken, or the process is not being followed. And then once we understand which it is, we make the changes and we fix the problem.
Yeah. Well, and the fact that it's not a Fabian Fredrickson company is what makes it enduring, really, because um, you may not be willing or able to do this forever. And so it makes it sellable. It makes it, there are many ways that the company can live without you.
Yes. So I talk about this in the business model chapter, which is chapter 4. And it's talking about the fact that most of us, I don't know about you, Julie, but when I started being a business coach, it was, and you get 30 minutes a week and you get 30 minutes a week. And, when I took time off, there was no getting paid. So it was about leveraging my intellectual property and leveraging delivery systems and leveraging team, leveraging automation, uh, all of that to be able to have the clients experience results, even if Fabienne is not there. And so there are countless permutations of how you can have 10 times the number of clients that you have now, therefore making 10 times what you make now without you being there. And one of the things, and I hope this is useful to someone listening, everything that I still do today in my business, and I adore being in my business. But if I had to, in 1 week, I wouldn't need to be there. Everything is pre-recorded. I'm still there pushing the video on Fabienne, a video of me teaching, let's say, the first activator of what's in the book, and saying, okay, now pull out your worksheet and let's do this together, and there for the coaching. But if I needed to or wanted to sell the business for millions, it would be set up. It would just take a few weeks to just hand it over, or if something ever happened to me, the business can continue making multiple seven figures a year indefinitely.
Which I think is, you know, I mean, people start businesses and at some point you want to take, I mean, my story is that at some point we wanted to take money off the table because everything we had was invested in our business.
Yeah.
And so if exit is the path for an entrepreneur, then setting it up in a way that you can sell it is a really important factor.
One of the things that I discovered is that, so the book is called The Leveraged Business, is that this is actually either a way to build your business to seven figures or eight figures with your life back, or it's a way to set it up so that you can sell it for millions. And I'll tell you a story that one of my clients, who was an interior designer, um, uh, she was describing this, and it actually broke my heart. Um, a fellow interior designer came to her, and she was probably in her late 70s, and said, let's call my client Jane. Here's everything. Here are my this, my that, my clients, my swatches, my everything. And my client said, why are you giving these to me? And she's like, I'm closing down my business. And after 35, 40 years of being an interior designer, Julie, she had nothing to show for it. No exit, no retirement money, nothing. It wasn't documented enough. Weren't enough processes to be able to even sell it for 100,000. And I said to Jane, this is why we create processes. This is why we don't have the delivery all depending on you. And then we got her to 1 million with those same processes.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it is that interesting piece of, you have to the irony of the letting go to be able to level up, sometimes on the hockey stick kind of way of growing, but
Yeah.
the more you can let go and find what you're truly good at, the more you can level up.
Yeah, it's interesting because I don't know about you, most of us women start a business for one or two reasons, usually both at the same time. We start a business because we want freedom and we want to make an impact or make a difference in people's lives, or
Yeah, we see a
right,
need in the
like
world.
something that
Yeah.
feels meaningful and fulfilling and using our gifts. And what happens once we get to six figures, and often when we get to seven figures, is that there's no more freedom. And we're not really doing what we love because we're stuck in the competence, the incompetence, driving the team, doing legal stuff, and we're not doing the thing that we love. And I meet women all the time who say, I think I'm just going to close down my business. And I'm like, what are you talking about? You're in the top 5% of business owners in the world. Top 5%. You're in six figures. And they say, I overwork, I underpay myself. I would never not take vacations and be called in the middle of the night and stuff like that. And I'm always like, just give me 1 year. Let's get you 1 year. That's all it takes.
It's amazing how, yeah, with the right mindset, systems, and you can change everything in a year. And I do think, like, if you have a business and you implement a lot of things and you prove to yourself that you can't pay yourself what you worth at the end of that year, then you should move on. Because we are also not charities.
Yeah.
And not being able to find that kind of financial success limits what we can do in the world.
Yeah, I'll say this just to add on to what you're saying. I think a lot of women close down their businesses because they're not paying themselves enough and they're overworking. But if I can just lovingly add, it's because they don't know what they don't know about scaling, which is what you talk about, right?
I agree with that. And I wrote down your resistance is a big breakdown before a big breakthrough. And I think that, resistance points can last. Like, it's not necessarily a 1 day or a 2 day thing. It can last you for a period of time while you find the right advisor to help you, or you find the right next step, or and so that can be discouraging.
Yeah, in fact, right before this, I recorded a podcast episode on wealth expansion and why women don't always experience great wealth. And one, most of them don't have the strategy for scaling to seven and eight figures like you and I provide, because we're not in the right rooms. Two, we don't have example. I'm 54. I don't know how old you are. You don't need to tell me, but when I was growing up, I wasn't surrounded with seven figure and eight figure women business owners. I was surrounded by PTA moms and women who maybe had a Mary Kay thing, but low level income. So we didn't have that as an example. So not only do we not have it as an example, it's not in our nervous system to think that it's normal to have a seven or eight figure business. We don't have access to the things that we don't know that we don't know. And when we do, everything changes. But the other thing that we don't understand and so I just recorded a podcast about nervous system regulation, is that when we feel resistance, when we experience procrastination, when we undercharge and overgive beyond scope, or we hire the wrong person or keep a person who's not right far too long, it simply points to a nervous system dysregulation that makes us feel that it is unsafe for us, again, on the nervous system level, not in the mind level, to have more money, to have better team, to pay more, to have the responsibility of more clients. When you can go beyond the mindset, I teach mindset, but in addition to that, the somatic layer of nervous system regulation through several tools, you can calm the anxiety, you can change the neural pathways in the brain, you can upgrade your identity, and then see yourself as the person who belongs in that room, who deserves the high level mentor, community, prices, world class team.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so interesting. Had an advisor in a mentor and advisor to our business, and he always used to talk about like horses for courses. And that like as you level up and change race courses, go to a higher level, you need a different horse to race that course. And sometimes
Interesting.
it's you that has to level up. Sometimes it means you need different expertise or people's experience on your team.
Yeah.
And then it also applies to you. And it is intimidating to level up and join the, like, I remember when I became an author and wrote my book, and all of a sudden you're an author, so you're in these different circles and feeling like, whoo, because you see some really successful people and very experienced people, and how you can take that as an opportunity to learn as opposed to like
Imposter
diminishing
syndrome.
yourself.
Yeah. Imposter syndrome. I say this in the very first pages of the book. What got you here isn't going to get you there. Whatever you're here and you're there means to you. So the 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 marketing that got you here won't get you there. The team that got you here won't get you there. The systems or lack thereof that got you here won't get you there. What you're charging won't get you there. Your mentorship, your mindset, your everything. Literally, you want to get to that next big level, you need to shift. I don't want to say
Yes.
change, because one of our
No.
biggest fears is of change. So you need to shift, upgrade, elevate. And again, mindset and nervous system level first, to then feel safe with the new strategy, the new mentor, the new rooms to be in, etc.
Yeah. I really like the shift analogy because I do think, people also want to hold on to the essence of who they are. And this
Yeah.
isn't about changing that. It's actually about making it even more known and more seen. And so I love that idea of just shifting upward. It's a really beautiful way of looking at it.
It really is about becoming the fullest expression of who you really are, beyond like what I said earlier about having it all, whatever all means to you in your business, in your life. Like, not to use the Italian sports car example again, but like, is that really the fullest expression of you? Or is it creating a charitable foundation? Or is it spending more time at the PTA? Or what is, do you want to build more habitats for humanity? Then you do that in your business. It's not about taking on something that you're not.
Yeah, and I think as we shift and shift upward, there's also the opportunity to be a leader in some of those places that you want to give back your time or make an impact. Your ability to be a leader in doing that also increases.
Yeah, for sure. Gosh, I didn't get into my business thinking I'd ever be a leader, right? I was just like, if I could just replace the $65,000 a year that I made working on 6th Avenue in Manhattan and having my own freedom, oh my, I'll stay at 65,000 a year. Never thought that I would be a leader of a team. I think that required a shift in my identity.
Yeah. Well, and if you had stayed at trying to grind it out to make that 65,000, your business would just look so different. And you, in terms of what you imagine for yourself, would be in such a different place now.
But I realized very early on that I'm unemployable.
I can relate to that.
Yeah. When I say that in front of an audience of women business owners, it's like everybody laughs. No, we don't need to explain anything else other than that word. And it was a slow death for me working for somebody else. But then at the beginning, I hadn't figured out how to make more than 3,000 a month. So it required, I mean, I really think that self-employment is one of the biggest, how do you say this, personal growth and development processes. I think probably Olympian status and loss and like serious health concerns are right up there, but man, it's a full contact sport unless you have the right advice and the right mindset help.
Yes, and getting out of those early days of full contact and into something long-term and sustainable. I mean, all the studies about entrepreneurs and mental health and all of the things. I mean, those are people who are stuck in the hustle.
For sure. But just I think they just haven't seen or been exposed to a different way of doing things. And there is maybe this belief system that says that's not for me or that's not available to me, but 7 and 8 figures is available to everybody. It's just like I say, in a film that's on my website, there is a verifiable, repeatable process if you just show up and follow the recipe.
Good. Well, thank you so much for sharing your story today, as well as your great advice. And I will link the book and your website in the show notes for Bold Heart. And I hope that more people explore your work. Thank you so much for chatting with me
Thank you
today.
too. What a delicious conversation.
Thanks. Take care. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Please remember to hit subscribe on your favorite podcast platform so you won't miss any episodes. Figure 8 isn't just a podcast. It's a way of seeing the big, gorgeous goals of women entrepreneurs coming to life. If you're interested in learning more, you can find my book, Big Gorgeous Goals, on Amazon anywhere you might live. For more about my growth and leadership training programs, visit www.julieellis.ca to see how we might work together. Read my blog or sign up to get your free diagnostic. Are you ready for growth? Once again, that's www.julieellis.ca. When we work together, we all win. See you again soon for another episode of Figure 8.